So we're here today with the lovely Mark Neighbour, who did a design for the Stitchery See It, Love It, Make It project. Can you tell us a little bit more about your design practice?
My design practice, I'm very much a technician. I like making things and I can't draw. So because of my pattern making background, I tend to come up with shape ideas that I develop into garments. So I design the garments in my head as a pattern, just draw down an actual pattern shape, and then somehow that evolves into a garment through the actual making process, and at which point the design is tweaked and developed into the final garment.
What are some highlights of your career?
Highlights of my career? Well, I suppose I have to mention that I was on Project Runway.
This is Project Runway Australia.
It's interesting how, even though I have a master's degree, that seems to get pushed to the side, and people say, and Mark was on Project Runway, even though it was 6 weeks of my life quite a while ago. Other than that, yep, my master's was very exciting, doing a menswear project and having time to concentrate on pattern making and developing that within theory. And yeah, it's very exciting to be working with fashion design students because they never end. It never ends. That the challenges that they present to you, and makes every day different and exciting. You
design through your making. Could you tell us any special principles that you use or elements of the process?
Well, like I mentioned before, it's really that, I just think about interesting shapes and the way they might interact with the body. So with the project that I've created for the Stitchery, it was a semi-triangular shape that created, and if you put a triangle on the body, it sits away from the body at the hem. So the idea was then to work out what to do with that fullness at the hem, our way of controlling it, and so by pulling it around to the back of the garment and sewing it together, it made an interesting back detail, and also at the same time made it relate closer to the body.
How did you find working within the parameters of the project?
I think I work really well. I think most designers work well with boundaries, because if you have boundaries, you're very creative within those boundaries. If somebody says to you, design anything that you like, that's usually the hardest thing to do, because you don't know where to start and you don't know where to end. Whereas the Stitchery project had very clearly defined parameters, and so working with a simple shape, simple construction, but just an interesting feature, interesting detail that was easy to reproduce for people and gave them a real sense of accomplishment.
Do you have any colour or pattern recommendations for the fabrication recommendations for the people that are making it?
I think it'd be a great idea to reproduce the garment in striped fabric. Stripes are a really easy way of creating a dramatic effect, and I'm curious, I haven't seen the garment in stripes, so I'm curious myself to see how the back pleat detail and the fullness at the back would change the design in a striped fabric. So I think that'd be lots of fun.
Any other thoughts about the project or anything else you'd like to tell us?
Yeah, have fun. I think the thing is just to actually start and make something. The first thing you make could be the hardest thing you've ever, the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. But once you work through that, you can see how simple things can be. And making one thing, you get ideas and it turns into something else, which evolves into something else, and so all of a sudden you've got a wardrobe of clothes that you've made yourself and had lots of fun in the process.
Hooray!
All done?
All done!